Welcome to the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. This is your go-to resource for personal growth, mastering communication, and influencing and persuasion techniques that will help you unleash the full potential of yourself and others. Here is your host, Alex Morgan.
Welcome back, everyone. This is episode number 15 of the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. My name is Alex Morgan, and I'm a master trainer of hypnosis and NLP. And for this episode, we have another special guest. And this person, they're a certified hypnosis instructor with the ICBCH, and they're a regression hypnosis specialist with the IMDHA. So welcome, Michelle. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I was thinking to start off, since we've known each other for a bit, so I know a bit of your story and how you got into hypnosis and all these things and how you started specifically doing regression. Can you just tell all the listeners how you kind of got started in all this and why you do it?
For sure. So about 9 years ago, my one friend convinced me to let her hypnotize me. Now, previous to this, I just really didn't understand it. Like most people, I'm sure it's the same thing. You know, you bring up hypnosis, everybody kind of gets that weird look on their face. So I was a little bit nervous about this, but she hypnotized me, and it really completely changed my life. I began to paint after this. This was not something I had even been interested in before. It really had nothing to do with the session. It was just something that came as a result afterwards. I had some type of creative block that was released during this session with her. And also during that initial session, I used to get really nervous if I would talk to my mom on the phone, like just kind of a physical sensation I would get in my body, and there was no reason for it. And I always thought, well, this is weird. You know, maybe other people feel this way too. And I couldn't quite figure it out. And then I had that session with her, realized it had nothing to do with my mom. It didn't even have to do with this life. But that session cleared it up, and that feeling never came back. And it actually wasn't even something that we were working on. It was just kind of a side effect, just like the painting of the session that we had. And so it was after that I realized, wow, this is a really valuable thing. Everybody should be able to experience this or do this. And I went and I took my training and immediately opened up shop and have been doing it ever since. So it's been just over 8 years that I have been practicing. I really got into the regression part of it because I just loved it. And I found that was where healing would come from, that if we go back and heal the root of the issue, then it's not going to come up and present itself again later in life. So that has been my focus. I pretty much do regression with, I would say, 98.5% of the people that come to me. And it just seems to work amazing.
I can definitely vouch for that. I've done, so everyone knows, I've done regression sessions with Michelle for various things, and it does definitely get rid of the issue. And the good thing about regression that I found, and with NLP, we do timeline therapy, so there's different ways to do regression, that once you get rid of that root cause, I mean, it's gone. The odds of it coming back or something else happening are slim to none. So the results are long lasting. And it's funny because when I started hypnosis, I didn't have any idea. I kind of thought the same thing as you. And I got hypnotized for the first time, actually by my mom, because she was a certified hypnotist as well. I was relaxed for so many days after. I was like, wow. So we want to share it with everybody. So that's kind of the goal of this episode. That's our intent. So when you're doing regression, there's a bit of things involved. Can you explain just a few things that people can maybe expect if they're really curious and interested in it?
For sure. So I do the same thing with everybody. I've I follow the sensations that are in your body. So let's say most people come to me, they've maybe been sad or worried their entire life. Maybe not their entire life, but lots of people have. They say that they don't ever remember not feeling that way, just a little bit, they don't feel like they belong or whatever it happens to be. So all of those things, so they're just, a thought that they're having, they physically can feel in their body too. And most people are not aware of this. You have so many thoughts throughout the day, you don't associate the feelings, the physical feelings that you have in your body with your thoughts. But when they come in for a session, or if we do it through Zoom or on the phone, lots of people don't know that either. They think, what? You can hypnotize someone over the phone, right? They just need to be able to hear our voice. So I will get them into state, which will take, 2 minutes to 20 minutes, but then I have them follow the physical sensation of the thoughts that they're having in their body. So if it was a smoker, I'm going to have them follow that physical craving that they have. If it's, someone who's sad, I'm going to have them follow that sadness. So once they identify where they're carrying it in their body, then we follow it back to when it very first began. Now, one of the reasons why I think it is so important to do this is because if someone has had this, let's say, sadness in their life, 20 years, 40 years, however long, that physical feeling, when they realize that they're physically carrying it in their body, every time that they have that thought associated with that sadness, they are depleting those parts inside of their body of the energy that's supposed to be there. And so eventually those parts in their body, you're going to have physical symptoms. Those parts of your body are going to start to break down. So this is, why I believe it's so important to do this work and to heal your emotions and those things that are there, because it does affect us physically. But I would have them follow those feelings back to wherever it is that they very first began. The same thing, people are like, oh, I think it's coming from here or there. But until you actually get into that subconscious state, you don't really know where your mind is going to go. So once we, get them in that state, follow it back, heal whatever happens to be there. It'll probably be a situation, a scene, a time. Somebody maybe said something to them. Maybe somebody did something to them. Maybe they were, alone. Whatever it happened to be, we'll heal it. And how I heal that is several different ways. So I might have them feel that emotion until they can't feel it anymore. I might have them drain it out of their body. I might have them heal it in a different way using color. There's just so many different things I will do once we get back to that place. And so once we're at that place, I use the scale. I don't know if you use this too, but if, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of that feeling is there? And we want to get it all the way gone. So I'm not leaving anybody with like, oh, it's better, but there's just a little bit there. No, that's not good enough for me. We're getting rid of it 100% completely, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And so this too, that, let's say somebody comes in and they've got anxiety and depression. Those two things will be linked always. So once one of them goes down, then the other one is also going to go down. So I would work with those two things at the same time. Typically, they seem to go hand in hand. And so we'll work on the sadness. Once it's gone, okay, now all that worry is all the way down at the bottom too, but I'll have them bring up whatever's left, physically feel it, take it back, and heal it. So in a session, I might regress somebody once. I might do it 7 times. I might do it 15 times. It totally depends on what they need to be able to get those numbers all the way down to 0.
Yeah, and this is the great thing about working with someone who really knows what they're doing is they cater the session to you. So like you're saying, maybe it's 1 time, 7 times, 15 times. And I think you made another couple good points. So I just want to review this because it's really important. The negative emotions, if we carry these in the body, they can cause disease, like you said, physical symptoms. So it's very important for everyone listening that you get rid of these, whether or not you want to do it with hypnosis, with myself or Michelle. If you do have these negative emotions and you keep repressing them, it's not going to be good for your body in the long run. You're going to have physical symptoms, and then mentally you'll start to feel drained as well. So I think this is really important, as well as the checking the scale. I don't necessarily use a scale. Like you said, I do check in different places though. Like, hey, do you feel the emotions now? Do you feel it here? And then we'll go somewhere else and have them feel it. So I make sure as well. And then I'll have them go out into the future to see if they can feel it. I'll have them go to maybe another event in the past. Hey, can you feel it here? So it's good to check, because also people, they're convinced in different ways. So maybe someone does need to check 3 times, or someone like myself, maybe I only need to check once because I'm automatically convinced. So I think those are a couple really good points that you brought up. Now, you mentioned smoking, a few different things. Is there any sort of niche or niche, however people want to say it, that you particularly work with, or do you kind of welcome anyone who just wants to focus on their healing?
Well, the majority of people, so the top 3 things that I work with, I'll tell you in a sec, but I'll tell you that the root of all of it is past trauma. So I would say that I specialize in past trauma, and it does not matter what that trauma is. And it doesn't mean that somebody needed to beat you down or abuse you or do this or that. Trauma is anything that, let's say you used to do things this way, but then something happened and now you do them this way. That would be, to me, considered a trauma. So I work with people who are sad, who are worried, and who need to lose weight. That is the top 3 things. And it's my favorite things to work with, because you can see the results right away, right? Hypnosis, you're going to see these results of things right away. But I just feel so passionate about it. When somebody comes in and they're like, I've been sad my whole entire life, I'm like, excellent. You have come to the right place, because you're not going to be anymore. And I know it so deeply that they're not going to be sad by the end of it, that they're going to feel completely different. And that's really what drives me. And that's what I love so much, because when you see somebody come in and then you see them come back a week later, and then you see them coming back a couple of weeks later, and they come in and they're smiling and they're like, oh, I just feel so different. It's so rewarding. That is why I like working with those things, because you can see it on their face and you can feel it in a session. You know, it's the exact same. Somebody comes to you, they're going to feel better when they leave. It's basically a guarantee. Whereas other forms of, let's say, therapy or counseling or this and that, you might go in, you might rehash things, and you're going to leave and you're going to feel worse, or not necessarily better. But when you work with us, you actually feel better, and you feel better as soon as we're done. You feel better during the session. You know, even if they had to bring up some things that were, you know, away from the past, maybe that you've repressed for a long time, you're going to still leave the session feeling better. And then by the time you come for the next one, you're going to feel different. Like, I had 3 people last week, all men, that told me the same thing, that as soon as their session was done, they pointed out physically a part in their body that they're like, oh, weird, my teeth feel different. Like, my teeth feel like tingly and not so tense and not so this and not so that. And I can't remember what the other one said. I just remember making note of it, that, you know, 3 people all in a row immediately pointed out how they physically felt different. And I love that. You know, people will hold tension in their neck and their shoulders or their back or here and there forever, and they don't even know that they're doing it. They think that their body is doing this thing to them, but really their body is just saying, hey, pay attention. There's something that needs to be looked at. And it's always an emotion. It's never something physical. Because when we can work with them and deal with something emotional, and then all of a sudden physically their body feels different, you know, there's the proof that our body is showing us what we need. So I love that. That's what I love about it, is, you know, people coming in and leaving and feeling amazing when they're done.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits. I always tell people, because there's this kind of misconception that you have to have this big giant problem to do hypnosis, or to, you know, go to whoever you want to work with. And the thing is, I think one of the biggest benefits of hypnosis, at least for me doing it over the years, is to feel good. That's it.
Yeah.
Because once you get rid of the negative emotions or the feelings, like you're saying, sadness or whatever it is, other ones include, of course, like anger, fear, guilt, hurt, all of these things that you can easily release. You get to then fill up your life with all the good stuff. And you can keep doing hypnosis over and over simply to feel good. So what would you say besides feeling good? What are some of the other benefits of doing this regression work?
I would say it's kind of endless. But one of the things that we do is really we're healing people's beliefs that they have, right? Because if somebody is sad, they believe that they're not good enough, or that they're not worthy, or that they're stupid, or that they're, they have some kind of belief about themselves. And beliefs manifest in our world, right? What we think and what we believe becomes manifest. Like, for example, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but let's say that you believe that people don't like you, and you're walking down the hallway and you see a group of people standing around and they're talking, and one of them looks over at you and they look back at the group. You might make an assumption that they're talking about you. And because you've assumed this, it is now true for you, and it just reinforces that belief of, oh, people don't like me, oh, they're, this or that. Now, let's say that you believe, of course, people like me. The exact same situation happens. Somebody looks over at you. You're not going to think anything negative about yourself. You're going to think, oh, maybe I should go say hi to that person over there, or, oh, whatever. You're not even going to notice it. So your beliefs underline the fabric of your entire world. So what we're doing is we're really helping people change their beliefs. And so when they change those things, then what they see in the world and what they experience changes. For example, I say, and I say this all the time, and because I say it all the time, it happens all the time. I say, we're living in heaven. And so then I get proof of that. The weirdest, coolest, most amazing things will happen. And I'm like, well, of course that happened. We're living in heaven. But I also say, I get free things all the time. And because I say it, I get free things all the time, like every day. And it's a belief that I have. I believe we're living in heaven and that we're choosing this moment to moment. We could think about something good, we're living in heaven. We could think about something bad, we're living in hell. So I'm choosing, through having control of my own mind, to only focus and think about those heavenly things. Therefore, my world is heavenly. I choose to believe that I get free things all the time. And because I believe it, I get free things all the time. So what we're doing is really helping people live the life that they want to live. If there's, they want to get free things all the time. If they want to this and that, well, you could start speaking those things and you could start saying, I get free things all the time. But if you don't believe it, if you have this block that is there inside you and you don't truly believe what you're saying, it's not going to happen. And so what we do, is we remove all of those things that are blocking the flow of life that you want to have. So we do that by healing past trauma so that the beliefs that are there that are subconsciously determining your day change. And when those change, then your life actually changes and you feel different, you get different results, and things change. And yes, of course, it takes time, depending on how old you are, how much trauma you've got to go through, how much you got to work through. These things can take time, but the results, the little results that you see after these sessions, and they're not little results, they're significant. You just get more and more the more work that you do.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And that's the thing with doing this type of work is anytime that we get a client, we're literally helping them get rid of decades probably worth of problems that they've held on to for decades. So in my opinion, it's really like a small investment to pay to get rid of decades worth of problem. I mean, really, how can you even put a price on what that is worth to you? I mean, I certainly can't.
Totally true. And you don't know. Yeah. And you don't know what it's like till it's gone. That's the thing, that like people say that all the time of, let's give an example of like, oh, you're in a bad relationship and all your friends are telling you, you got to get out. You got to get out. Eventually you finally get out and you're like, oh, I should have done that years ago. That is how hypnosis is. If anybody comes, people are nervous when they come because they don't know. They think it's mind control because Hollywood has totally just put this horrible thing around hypnosis when that's not what it is at all. We're giving people their control back. Like if someone comes to me and they're like, I want to stop eating this whole, bag of chips and box of cookies every night, but I don't want you to control my mind. It's like, well, I'm not, but you currently don't have control of your mind if you are eating a bag of chips and a box of cookies and you don't want to. It's you that doesn't have control of your mind. So what we are doing is we are giving our clients back the control of their own mind. And we're just guiding them through it of this is how you do it. And we're holding their hands the whole entire time and allowing them to do that. Because if somebody comes to us often enough, like you and me, we exchange sessions. Like I have a problem. I got something I need. Well, I know I'm going to call you. You're going to be my first call because I want my problem gone and I want it gone today. But what happens over time is we teach our clients how to do these things for themselves. We're really teaching them how to think differently. So it's not that they're, not ever going to need us in the future, right? I need you, you'll call me for a session. We need people. That's why we got people in this world, is because we need each other for these things. But we're teaching these skills to them. So eventually, people can work through their own things so much easier. It's not even just the self-hypnosis, but you can really teach people how to let go of things the more that they work with us doing this hypnosis.
Yeah, because most people, I would say, it's almost like a cause and effect equation. So they come and see us and they have excuses or reasons why they're not achieving what they want. And very quickly, we can teach them by showing them, hey, you can have control of your own mind. And next thing they know, they feel empowered and they're getting results, and all those excuses and reasons and all those people or they were blaming and not taking responsibility is gone very, very quickly. And that's a very common problem. People are always pointing outside of themselves like, hey, this person's doing that and they make me feel this way, when really it's us. So if everyone can understand just taking responsibility and really taking that first step and calling or reaching out or sending a message or an email to one of us, I would say is a huge step for most people because maybe they've never told anyone how they're feeling. So everyone listening, we love talking about this stuff. So please reach out. I'll have both of our contact information in the show notes here because we love talking about this stuff. We want everyone to feel 100% comfortable. So please reach out and get help. That's a big first step. Just asking like, hey, I want to do something about this. With all this being said, would you have anything else to add that you would like to share with everyone about anything else that you do and kind of where everyone can find you and get in contact with you just so they can hear it as well?
Well, one thing that I want to say is that, a lot of people, and I'm sure you experience this too, believe that they're alone in their issue, that, their issue is too big, they got too much, they this or that, or that they really just feel alone in it. And the reason why they feel alone is because they haven't told anybody. And the people who also have that same problem also don't tell anybody. So we end up feeling really alone in our problems, and we're not. If ever I've run a group or this or that, that's one of the biggest things that people will say besides, getting the good results out of it, like confidence and whatnot, but that they say that they realize like, oh, I realized I wasn't alone, and that alone helped me. And I'm sure same with you. You've had many, many, many people tell you like, I've never told anybody this before, but here's my problem. And in them doing that, they get it out and they, maybe realize that they're not alone in it. And that alone is so helpful. So if you're listening and you've got a problem and you're like, okay, but you can't help me with this or you can't help me with that. Yes, we can. I've never come across anything that really couldn't be helped because it's all the way that we're thinking about it. But if people want to get a hold of me, they can go to my website, which is therealhealinginstitute.com. I also have another one that is specific for sports. I've worked with many athletes that have gone on to win world titles or play professionally after they've worked with me, or I will continue to work with them. And that website is called The Game Changer / Sports Hypnosis. But I also have a YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel is a series called the Mental Cleanse series. It has 36 videos in it, and this is all free hypnotherapy. So it's basically what I would do if I had a group and I was putting on a group. It's essentially that. You have to pay attention to it. You have to do what is being asked of you in these videos, because I'm not just giving direct suggestions. I'm having you actually do work and release things and let things go and work through emotions. So there's that, and people can go and do that for free. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm under the Real Healing Institute. No matter where you look for me, that is what I'm under on all my social media platforms.
Okay, cool. So YouTube too, the Real Healing Institute. I've listened to some of those hypnosis myself. They're very good. I usually fall asleep, to be honest, but I think my goal is just to get so relaxed. So thanks so much for taking the time to share your wealth of knowledge and all the benefits of hypnosis. Michelle, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having me. This was great.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. So wherever you are listening, it would be really helpful if you would go ahead and leave an honest review and give some feedback on the podcast. And again, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode.